morning, boys and girls. I'm in Miss Crabtree's office, but I'm going to show you how to do the second paragraph, or paragraph number 2 of our biography. Now, the first thing you should do is go back and read your introduction because that'll get our mind right and get in the right train of thought so we can start writing. So I'm going to read my introduction, and most of us did suppose. Suppose you were a young girl playing outside your home. Suppose you were thrown in a ship and placed in the ship's hull with the ugly rats. I almost put a period there, so it's okay to change stuff, and I'm going to delete. I'm going to move over and take out suppose right here. And I'm going to put it right there. Oops, I didn't do. I'm on Miss Crabtree's keyboard, and it's a little bit different than mine. I'm going to say suppose you heard the adults who were handcuffed in chains crying and moaning. Suppose after 10 weeks at sea you arrived at Boston Harbor in 1761. Suppose you were frail, scared, and naked. Here's my thesis statement. Your name was Phyllis Wheatley, and now you're a slave in the American colonies. Now I'm going to scroll down, and we're going to skip another way you could have done it. Now, we're going to write about our childhood. So a good way to start yours is just to say the person's name. And so Phyllis's childhood was, you might say Clara's childhood was busy taking care of children, her brother who was sick, or um, Sally's childhood was full of science and fun outside. And you'll tell about what happened. Now, notice right here. So I said Phyllis's childhood was ripped away from her. Notice you have to put apostrophe because she owns the childhood. Now, if your person's name ends with S, you're going to put an S there. But let's pretend like the person's name was Sally. This is what you're going to have to do. If it were Sally, we would say Sally apostrophe. It's right beside the enter. Childhood was ripped away from her. Now, that's not what I'm going to do because her name ends with an S. Phy. Oops. Phyllis's childhood was ripped away from her. And I'm going to tell a story. I'm going to give some evidence about what happened. She was bought by Susanna Wheatley to become her servant or slave. Mrs. Wheatley soon realized that Phyllis was bright. She learned English very quickly. Oh, I did a fanboy. I challenge you to do a fanboy. See my fanboy? I'm going to put it in a different color. And Miss Wheatley decided to teach her to read. So I have a sentence on each side of my conjunction. You can use and, but, those are the most common ones. She learned it easily and started to learn to read the Bible. Now, here I did not put a comma because started to read to learn the Bible, there's not a subject. It goes back to she. For example, and you can use for example and put a comma after it. That's a transition. She did so well that she learned difficult subjects like Greek, Latin, mathematics, and poetry. Because she loved to read poetry, Phyllis began to write poetry when she was very young. Now, that's the evidence. Now, today, this is my reasoning statement. So you're going to do in other words, Phyllis was extremely intelligent. So I want your last sentence to start with, in other words, Sally was. So that is your choice. So our claim will start with Phyllis's childhood was, and you finish it. Our evidence is 3 to 4. I'd love to see 5 to 6 sentences for evidence. And then you're going to finish it with your reasoning statement. And we're going to do in other words. In other words, Phyllis was extremely intelligent. And each of you have a trait on your paper, on your information sheet, and you can use that to finish it. That's all we're going to write today. And when you type, please be ready to take your time and be careful. Now, after poet, I want to show you how to do this. After the first sentence, after your thesis statement, you're going to hit enter one, two times. We're not going to hit, and then you'll start typing. You do not stop typing until you're finished with a whole paragraph, and then you hit enter. Some of you the other day were hitting enter after every sentence, and that doesn't make it look, it's not in paragraph form. So please make sure you do that. If you have any squiggly lines, check those out. Try to fix them if you can. And like I just found a mistake. See, I had childhood and I just fixed it. That's all you have to do. Now, before you say you're finished, one more thing. I think you need to make sure that you read it again. Phyllis's childhood was ripped away from her. She was bought by Susanna Wheatley to become her servant or slave. Miss Wheatley soon realized that Phyllis was bright. She learned English very quickly, and Miss Wheatley decided to teach her to read. She learned it easily and started to learn to read the Bible. I, she learned, I think I need to put reading there. I think that would help. She learned reading. Maybe I should say she learned how to read quickly. I think that sounds better. And started to learn to read and started to read the Bible. I might take that there. So that's not it doesn't sound and started to read the Bible. That's okay. That's what people do when they read over something, they change it. For example, she did so well that she learned difficult subjects like Greek, Latin, mathematics, and poetry. Because she loved to read poetry, Phyllis began to write poetry when she was very young. So that's all my evidence. And notice I had a lot of evidence, and you should too, because you had that whole section describe your person's childhood. You can use that information, just turn them into sentences. And then we're going to end with our reasoning statement, and yours should start, in other words, Phyllis was. That's what I want everybody to start with. That's going to be our reasoning statement. So you're ready to start writing. If you have any questions, just send me an email and I'll be glad to help you. And have a great day. Tomorrow we'll write about what made that person famous. So I'm going to hopefully stop this computer